I'm going to start off. Thank you, obviously. Thank you so much for being with us, and that's really amazing. And we're hoping to learn more about LNG and PRGT, and we are in the most incredible space. We are at Gitxsan on Gitxsan Lax'yip, and we've got Drew Harris and we've got Grace Vickers. And so tell me, why you formed the Lax'yip Firekeepers.
So last summer, me and Grace were working together, and we were just starting to get involved with the PRGT pipeline since it just got revamped again and brought back to life. So we were working with the SWCC, and then at the end of the summer, we got voluntold by our Smogits and leaders, like, we want to have a meeting with the community and let them know all the impacts that they don't know of, since there is lots of lies and misconceptions about what these projects actually bring with them. So we wanted to give the truth to our community. So me and Grace and a couple other youth from the area got together, and we planned a meeting within a week. And we had a huge turnout at Gitxsan Hall. We had over 300 people attend in person and over 100 on live stream.
We also had Dr. Melissa Lem come in and talk about the impacts on the health and environment from the compressor stations that they want to put up Salmon River Road. So it was really enlightening having her there to speak. And I think a focal point was having all of the youth from the Lax'yip at the end. Because at this point, a lot of them we hadn't spoken to directly.
Yeah.
It was all by word of mouth that they showed up. Even though they weren't a part of the immediate planning process, they got up, and it was kind of like a domino effect where one of us started talking about what the Lax'yip meant to us. And from there, all of the kids and the youth there started talking about what it meant to them. Even the shy ones that they weren't too sure. I saw some people, they had papers and they were coming up, and you could see that they were a little bit shaky. And then once they started talking, they put the paper down, and you could see that they just started talking from the heart. So I think that was really heartwarming.
That was crying, I remember, and do you remember? It was a presentation.
Yeah, Patience
Malda.
I was like, oh
Doug
my
and
God.
his granddaughter.
How emotional was that for all of you?
Yeah, I was editing the videos. I was just finishing one to post today of the highlights from there. And every time I watched it, I cried, because I'm just hearing all these youth speaking from their heart, and just how amazing that event was. Because I feel like in the moment, me and Grace were so busy and stressed that we didn't really get process everything till after. And then after, I was just like, oh my God, we have so much support. And just that was such a unifying moment for our community. And because I feel like lots of times people don't want to talk about this issue, because it's hard when your family is one side and the other half is the other side. So this was just a nice way to bring it up in a respectful way that people could voice their concerns without being scared.
Yeah. And Patience Maldo works directly on the environment. She's worked with fish. She's spent a lot of time out on the land. And I think when she started talking, she was talking about thinking about all of the environmental degradation that will happen in areas where she'd shot her first moose. And I remember her saying that line. I could hear it in her voice. She was getting emotional, and I just stood up behind her, and I was just like, you're not alone. All of us are here, and it is an emotional topic, because this is where we grew up. This is where we get our food sources from. This is something we've had our entire life. So the thought of industry coming in and messing up your entire backyard, it's an emotional thing to have. And I think if the roles were reversed and we were putting a mega project through their backyard, they wouldn't be too happy either. So I think that was one thing that was on everybody's mind, and Patience really just brought the emotion of that out for everyone, I think. Yeah.
Do you think that meeting really touched everybody in your communities? And
yeah, we had feedback forever after. Every time we read out, someone would come up and be like, oh my God, that was amazing. And then we had an insane amount of support from all over Canada reach out to us ever since. And I was just doing the math. I was like, we've only been officially together for 9 months.
Yeah.
But even less than, because we
lifetime.
didn't start a group till 2 months later. So 8 months, 7 months. But just a short amount of time, we've had an insane amount of support, and we've grown a lot as a group. And things coming out, when we got together, it wasn't just about pipeline. It was about cultural revitalization, learning our language, bringing back traditional values, and decolonizing as many spaces as we can here, and just really trying to look at a future that we want and how we can make that happen where everyone is included. So it's really nice to be around young people, because in the the world right now is scary, and
It is, yeah.
no one has been through what we are going through right now, and the youth have a future that is super uncertain. And it's nice to know that we all feel the same way, and like we can validate our feelings together, our fears and concerns, but also our hopes and dreams. We have people that support them and can see the vision too, which is really, really inspiring and keeps us going.
I love that. That's amazing and so needed. I'm 52 and I'm worried about our world and what we're facing, and so I can't even imagine being, you know, on the front lines of not only the climate crisis and you know, wildfires out here, that kind of thing, but resource extraction. So the PRGT pipeline, maybe give me some details about that. Somebody called it a zombie pipeline the other day.
Yeah, definitely is a zombie pipeline. It's a defunct project that was brought back to life, and they are trying to push for a substantial start. They've only cleared one small section of land, so right now we're awaiting a court decision on this. Some people are saying it's 800 kilometers, other people are saying it's 900, and the reason why is because they don't have a set end location, and they're working with a decade-old environmental assessment. So we were calling on, well, BC energy regulators to have them come in and do an updated environmental assessment, because they're going to be crossing through our headwaters, and they're splitting our sections from section like 5A to 5B, and they're arguing that while they're operating in one section, it's not going to be affecting our section. So if they're operating, you know, up the stream from us, they're saying that's not going to be affecting us, but that's not true. And I think anybody that lives down the river from anyone knows that's not true. So we're trying to argue and have them come in and do an updated assessment, but they've been pushing back pretty hard on us. So we're still awaiting a decision from the BC Supreme Court. So I think we're all on the edge of our seats right now, and we're hoping that it's in favor of us. But
yeah, the pipeline was originally started in 2014. Is that when it was? 2014. So yeah, this project is super old, and I didn't even know I was part of the beginning of the resistance for this project, but I was really close friends with Brianna, and her dad was Richard Wright, if you know who that is. He's a really important land defender that started Maddie Lee, so he was up at the blockade there, and it's one of the longest standing Gitxsan resistant blockades. And yeah, I was part of that fight when I was 17. I didn't even know what I was fighting for. I got a job with my friend, and we were working at the camp. So we're just out there every week or every day helping them shut people away with our gate. And I was just like, I don't really know what we're turning people down for, but
you do now.
Now I know. I was turning down the Prince Rupert Gas Transmission people, and it's pretty cool to be a part, but he has since passed on. So it's a really sweet thing to continue on, even though I didn't really know that's what I was doing back then. And now it's like a full circle coming together. But yeah, originally we thought we got rid of the blockade or of the pipeline in 2017 is when they shelved it. So that's when we thought we were all in the clear. No one was really thinking anything until last year. All of a sudden it got brought back to life. And now all of us are just organizing since day one. There's been tons of people putting effort to stop this pipeline, and there's tons of resistance.
You had said earlier one of the reasons why you formed the Firekeepers is, you know, to educate. There's a lot of misconceptions or disinformation. So my next question is, do you think greenwashing, like presenting LNG as a cleaner fossil fuel, has helped industry and government, you know, gain support for LNG development? Yeah,
for sure. Like the amount of information that our title holders that know about this project when they signed on was just so equivalent, and like even in 2014 it was barely anything. So today the stuff that they've been told is just so untrue, and we have proven that it's not true with tons of scientists are showing us the data that this is not cleaner, and this is not healthy for the environment. And it's really frustrating to have our own leaders saying that it's clean and that we don't have to worry, because it gives a conflicting message to people. Like one side is saying it's super bad, the other side is saying there's no benefit, or there's no impacts for the environment. So it's just,
that must be hard. So hard. people signed agreements years ago, they were, you know, lied to.
Yeah.
And that must be very, very hard to, you know, just to take that in. And
It's the same colonization tactics that they've been using since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Divide, conquer, manipulate, fearmonger, do whatever it takes to get what you want from them.
Even
That's
just
how
the
you get-
terminology, liquefied natural gas.
Yeah.
There's nothing natural about that. Jesse's one who will speak quite heavily on that, and I commend him for that. It's really disheartening to see these companies that for them it's cheaper for them to do things illegally and pay the fines than to do things properly due to time constraints. And I think it's really upsetting to see people believe what they're saying when for them it's just money. It's paychecks going straight into their bank account. It's the funding of US investors, things that are supposed to be good for Canada. And I think right now with everything going on with the tariffs, hearing people talk about wanting to be less reliant on the US and we should build this pipeline because Canada needs to stand on its own 2 feet. I'm like, we're not standing on our own 2 feet. We're getting the money from US investors.
We're letting them in.
I think it's really upsetting to see the terminology being used and how it's being used with fear, and using that fear to think that it's a positive thing to have a pipeline go through and that it's a positive thing for Canadians to be independent, but it's not the truth. And using that to manipulate people it's hard to see, really, and especially it's hard to see when it's happening in your own communities. I think seeing how easy it is for them to say like consultation with one hereditary chief or one member of your WILP. I'm like, well, you know, you're a country that prides itself on democracy, but, you know, what does it say when there's 100 hereditary chiefs and there's 100 WILP members that are in opposition to that, and you're riding on one hereditary chief or 2 or 3? We've got over 100 people who are in support with us, so it's hard to see that and see them pushing that so hard when, you know, there's a large growing resistance, and it's a lot larger than the people who are in support, especially on the Indigenous side.
Yeah.
I like that you brought up the economic tariffs or the threat of tariffs and the economic uncertainty. We used to, at least for a few years, we had politicians and governments talking about a commitment to, you know, the climate crisis. Were they doing enough? Probably not. But then we don't hear that much anymore because now all of a sudden we have economic uncertainty. So we're going to just push through things or roll back things. And that's concerning. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, it's super frustrating and it sucks, but that's what these systems use. They use crisis to benefit themselves.
Push their agenda.
So they're making this fake energy crisis to justify building pipelines, and they're using this economic crisis to justify pipelines, even though half of the investors and ownership is American owned. So we'll be filling Trump's inner circle pockets single-handedly with this pipeline. So I don't understand how that is helping us get any distance from the States. We're just letting them have a huge control over our energy sector, which seems super dangerous and naive, and it just seems insane that we have our own leaders trying to say this is a good thing. And like the youth, not even just Indigenous youth, the youth all over Canada are standing up against this pipeline and the pipeline fast tracking, because we could see right through, we can see what they're trying to do.
It's strategy.
Yeah,
To
right.
me, it looks like strategy.
Yeah, I think anyone that studies politics or has a niche interest in politics, there's always going to be a political crisis out there in the world. So seeing them utilize fear and pushing one crisis to fast track their agenda, it's a common strategy, and it's sad to see all the people falling for it. It's something that we've seen throughout time. And it's hard to see it used back on our people.
Yeah.
What does the land is the law? I was on your website. It says the land is the law mean to Gitxsan youth, Gitxsan people. What does that mean?
For me personally, like when I think of land is the law, that's like where you live. That's like here at Gitxsan law. That would be our Gitxsan law. And like we don't belong to the land. The land owns us. We're just here temporarily, so we're here to take care of the land. And at the end of the day, they're the ones in charge here, so we have to respect them and follow the laws. Like, don't take too much, don't destroy the land, don't like you want to protect it.
Have you always grown up like that?
Yeah, I'm really grateful my mom instilled those into me from a young age, and I used to be annoyed by it and be like, whatever. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm so glad I had this thought. Like I had this
opportunity.
I had this responsibility to the land from the beginning, and it's something I really cherish and take seriously. And yeah,
we call Colin our young elder.
Yeah.
He's the advisor of the youth on the Gitxsan. Yeah. But I think when we hear the land as our law, it's something that's permanent, where, you know, we're all temporary here, but the land will be here. It was here before we were here, and it's going to be here after. So I think it should be at the focal point of everything that we do. And we need to think about that when we're making decisions, how it's going to be impacting us 7 generations from now, how our great-great-grandchildren are going to be living. Are they going to be able to go down to the river and catch fish? Are they going to be able to drink the water and breathe the air in a way that's not going to contaminate their health?
Do you have a memory of growing up? Like, so for me, I grew up in cities. I'm non-Indigenous. I didn't grow up fishing for salmon and bringing home food. My dad didn't hunt. You know what I mean? Tell me what tell me a memory or what your life growing up was like.
I think, like, for me, I most recently went out hunting with my father and my brother, and it was one of the first times I'd gone out with them. And, you know, I would always I grew up with 4 older brothers, so they would always come back from their hunting trip and it would sound like so much fun. And I was just like, why don't I ever get to go? And so Dad brought me along, and I didn't realize how much went into it. And it was all preparation. It was all, well, okay, we're going to be taking a life. Like, that life, it's giving itself to us to sustain our family. So it's making sure that we're utilizing every part of that animal as a thanks to them. And when we got the first elk down, the first thing we did was we all put our hands on it, and my dad sang a song, and it was a thank you. And all my brothers there were tears streaming down their face. It wasn't a prideful thing. It was, we're very honored that you gave our life to us. And it's a really emotional thing too. And then from there, we bring it in and we harvest, and we make sure that if we have anything left over, like, every bit is being used. It has a role. So whether, like, the tallow is being used for creams, or the hide is being used and stretched, like, everything has something that it can be used for, and that's the way we honor it. And I think that that's, like, a really good way of looking at everything in life, is everything has intention, everything can be utilized in a way that's meaningful or impactful. And I think that's, like, it's a really big thing that I bring into, like, youth of the Gitxsan Lax'yip or the Lax'yip Firekeepers, is that we all have a role here to play, and, like, you can learn from everything and everyone on the Lax'yip.
For me, I guess I just get memories of when I was little and just helping my grandma do fish. And, like, that was one of my favorite childhood memories, is just getting together with my grandma and gutting fish, canning them, helping do the whole process. And, like, as you get older, you start to do fish, like, you catch the fish and then you learn how to cut it, and just the whole process of gathering food and preserving it for your family is such a bonding moment. And, like, you transfer so much knowledge indirectly, just being together. You just learn so much with your elders and your aunties and your moms, and it's just, that's, like, my favorite thing, is being out on the land and just respecting it and taking care of it for future generations is what we're all trying to do here. And being out there is the best way to do it.
Amazing. It's truly special. Chief Namox was talking about, well, he brought us into his smokehouse the other day, and then just talking about, you know, how special it is to be in there. You know, everybody's passing down, you know, traditional knowledge, just fun stories, songs, and it's just sounded really, really special. Indigenous communities are on the front lines of not only resource extraction, but the climate crisis. You know, me in Vancouver, I don't have to really worry about a wildfire. You know what I mean? In my backyard, it's happening, you know, in rural areas. It's happening in Indigenous communities. What do you want your leaders, government, whether that's your Indigenous leaders, whether that's Canadian government, BC government, what do you want them to do? What would bold action maybe be to do? What are you hoping for from them?
I think a first step is that they side with us in the court case that'll be coming out soon.
Yeah.
That would be a nice first step. I think to add on to that is looking at it less as them as our leaders, as them as someone we can co-manage with. I think that there's a lot of stuff they don't know about the land. Like, as you said, a lot of these people are from the city and they're coming down here and they're making decisions about land and area that, you know, they've never been to, they didn't grow up on, they don't know anything about. And I think it's just really important that, you know, they stick to what they say, whether that's the BC climate plan or whatever it is that they set in motion. I think it's really disheartening to see them go in and say that they're going to be missing their target by 50%. Like, it's a big thing, and it's hard to see them boasting about their climate when BC doesn't have a plan anymore. There is no climate plan for BC anymore, especially if this decision is in favor of PRGT and BCER. So I would really like to see a little bit more transparency with our government and a lot of like transparency in their processes and how they go about making decisions. I think that's one thing that we've not been seeing really clearly, especially with BCER. How are you going about your decision-making processes? Why would you grant them a permit extension? Can you explain to us what the process was behind that? Well, we can't disclose that with the public yet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, when are you going to do it? So I think just seeing transparency in their decision-making processes, more co-management with hereditary chiefs, not just one, not just two, that we don't know how they got on their side. But, you know, all of the hereditary chiefs here that are going to be impacted in their WILP and the youth that are here as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
Our
the
world,
leaders.
as you know, is like the entire world is in crisis on so many different levels, right? When I come here, I think this is my 10th time visiting out here, and it feels pretty good, right? And it's not the angst and the crazy I feel when I'm home in the city. And that's clearly the sign of, to me, the balance we need. This feels right here. It doesn't feel right when I'm back at home. You know what I mean? Or you do know what I mean. And you both have gone to school in different areas, and so you've been away from here. Do you feel that? Do you feel that when you're away, the difference?
I feel like that's why they designed the system this way, is just to keep everyone so out of touch and so busy all the time. They don't see what's happening right in front of them. Like, we're losing so many species, we're losing so much habitat, we're heading towards very dark and scary times, and people still have their head in the ground, refusing to look up to see what's going on. And it's like, this is what they want. They want us so busy and so stressed out that we have to work 24/7, that we can't stand up for what's right or even see what's going on that's wrong. It's just like, yeah, being home definitely is something I'm very blessed to grow up in a place like this, because going to school, I was like, damn, I'm actually glad I grew up where I grew up from, because I used to hate it when I was younger. And then you go to school and you're like, actually, we're so lucky.
Yeah, I can second that.
Yeah.
The Gitxsan territory is not my territory, so I feel very blessed to have grown up here. And because I was welcomed so open-heartedly, I think like it is my responsibility as well to step in and be vocal where I can. So I think that's like why a large part of like Lax'yip Firekeepers, which was formerly Youth of the Gitxsan Lax'yip, it wasn't, you don't have to be Gitxsan to be with us, you just had to have grown up on the Lax'yip. And I think that itself is just such a privilege. And we've had an ambassador from the UN come up and visit us, and they said, I've traveled a lot of different places in my lifetime, and this is one of the only places where the air has been so clean. And he's like, and I can feel it when I'm here. And I think that just really puts into perspective, like, why would anybody want to come in here and mess that up, or take the chance to anyways, or operate on these old certificates? And it's just, it's actually mind-boggling to me to think that people are operating from that kind of a perspective. But, you know, it's hard to stay grounded and be understanding as much as we can be.
We're like
not
one
let
of
anger
the
consume you.
last functioning watersheds in the world. And it's like, why would you want to risk any of that, considering we're almost losing our salmon everywhere? It's just wild.
It must be, right? So frustrating. I'm 52. You're like, what, 25 years younger?
26.
22.
Yeah.
I didn't have the climate crisis when I was growing up. You know what I mean? I didn't have those big, huge things to think about. That must be, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If at my age I'm worried, it must be hard for youth, for younger people to look and go, wow, what is going to be my future?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've struggled with heavily in the last year. Joining this fight, like, it's easy to not notice what's going on and or just like cover your ears because you don't want to hear all the stuff because there's just so many bad things happening. You're like, oh my God, more bad things, more bad things. It's just, it can get overwhelming where you just feel like there's no hope left and you're just like, what can we even do? But that's why I think this youth group has been so empowering because we gave a spot for youth to say how they feel. Like, we got to go up and stand and be like, I'm scared. Like, this is how I feel. This is literally how I feel. Like, we don't know what's going on. And that just being vulnerable showed other people that, and it just helped us all come together. And that's what keeps me going. Like, every time we do talks anywhere, it's really emotional and people are vulnerable. And I'm really grateful that people do be vulnerable because I think that's what we need to have change. Like, we need to show our emotion and what we're feeling for people to act on it. So yeah, it's definitely been something that I struggled with, but being with the youth group has helped it tremendously. And just being in a support group to have people that, you know, have your back and feel the same way. And you don't even have to necessarily say it, but we all feel it when we're together.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That takes me to my last question, which I think you just answered, but my last question was, what can other youth in Indigenous communities, youth across Canada, BC, it doesn't matter, the world, what can they do today to voice what their concerns are, to not feel so hopeless, and to, you know, what can they do? What do you think they can do?
Join us.
Yeah,
work
join
with us. Start your
like-
own group. Like, I think one thing is people always think they're so alone. And once you get out there and you start talking, you realize, like, I'm not alone. Like, I met amazing people like Drew and everyone else that's on the Lax'yip Firekeepers. And I think that you just have to put yourself out there to see that. Whether that's you reach out to us and you want some advice or you want some help on how to start a group like we did, or you want to join us, or you have contacts that you think that you could put us in contact with. Like, I think there's so many options out there. Yeah,
we've made so many alliances all over BC and Canada, and lots of youth groups reach out to us, and they're growing. And I think really youth is like the key to getting this fight like really going, because it's what's we called ourselves the Firekeepers because it's teaching like the Firekeepers are the one that keep the fire going. So we are the youth that are going to keep the fight going that our ancestors started to fight colonization and keep our land protected and safe. And we're going to keep passing the torch down to the next. But if you are youth, I think just starting a group wherever you are, like just posting online, being like, hey, I rented out this place, or let's meet at the park and let's just talk. And like, I'm worried about the climate crisis, and like, I wonder if other people want to talk about it, because so much change can happen just from that. Like in 8 months, we've done an insane amount of stuff. And I'm like, once you have people that care and are passionate, what is it?
The ball just starts rolling. And I mean, like, we've had so much support. Like, I think when people see you doing something that they believe in, people will support you wholeheartedly. And I think that's one thing. Like, if you live in a community, like, you need to trust in your community that if you help them, they're going to help you. And I think that that's something that we've really seen since starting the Firekeepers. It's been amazing seeing all of the support we've got, whether it's from community or whether it's from other nations. It's been a real pleasure.
Amazing. Well, I'm really excited for your event tonight. We won't be there. We're flying home, but good luck tonight. Make as much money as you guys can. And as you know, keep fighting the good fight. Not all adults are dumb. I hope I'm one of them. It's a little weird to be older and to myself look around and be worried with the other adults and be like, hey, I thought we were all supposed to be adults and smart. So we need a bit of a kick in the butt, I think, from the younger generations.
Well, we're here.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.